3 years ago, Irina Getchis-McCarthy and her husband Mike approached me to discuss their passion for creating an event centered on educating and empowering women in financial wellness and literacy. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Irina and Mike for their generous support, which has made tonight's event possible. Their gift, which you probably noticed when I gave the title, was named in honor of Irina's mother. And here tonight is Irina's sister, Vida Getchis, to share a few words about the significance of this event to her. Vida, if you could come up.
Thank you to Dr. Terry Boyer for that wonderful introduction. We are really looking forward to this year's keynote speaker, Jennifer Dempsey Fox, an alum of Villanova. This evening will include meaningful table discussions focused on women and financial wellness, offering valuable insights and opportunities for connection. My sister Irina and I are very honored to offer a few remarks to open this event. My connection to Villanova is through Irene, Mike, and Julia McCarthy. Julia, my niece, graduated from Villanova in May 2025 with a bachelor's in criminology and psychology. Through Mike and Irina's involvement on the Parents Executive Committee and through Gabriella Hill in institutional advancement, they learned about the important work of the McNulty Institute. Many thanks once more to Villanova University and the McNulty Institute for planning this event, sponsored by the Eugenia Getchis Endowed Fund for Financial Wellness. Eugenia Getchis was our mother. She passed away in 1996, and this endowed fund was established to honor her memory. Through her example, our mother instilled in Irina and me a passion for women to understand financial matters and be independent in your thinking. You may be wondering, who was Eugenia Getchis? She and our father, Joseph, were World War II refugees from Lithuania who fled Soviet occupation. She became a registered nurse, and our father was an auto mechanic. She did not have a formal education in finance, but she had a vision to thrive in America while raising 4 children. She taught us, her daughters, the value of saving for what you want, not buying things on credit, preparing financially for unseen challenges, knowing your finances, and managing money independently, even within a partnership. Let me share a brief story. When Irina was 12 and I was 14, our father left Ford Motor Company to lease an automotive center and gas station from Shell Oil Company. It became a true family business. While working full-time as a nurse, our mother became the primary accountant for the business also. She took financial courses through Shell to learn how to track budgets, manage payroll, reconcile receipts, and make bank deposits. Irina became her assistant at 12 years old, and that's when she discovered her love of numbers and finance. I was on the logistics team, cleaning the office, washing car windows, and pumping gas in the full service aisle, for those of us who remember that. Many evenings were spent at our kitchen table, reconciling credit card receipts, preparing deposit slips, paying invoices, and ordering inventory. From that table, our mother taught us 3 essential lessons. Income must exceed expenses. Excess income allows for enjoyment. And lastly, excess income must also be saved for a rainy day. And as we went out on our own, these lessons extended into every stage of life: leasing our first apartments, buying a car, saving for a home, applying for a mortgage, preparing for children, paying college tuition, and planning for retirement. Those early discussions inspired Irina to pursue a career in finance, earning bachelor's and master's degrees. She worked at the Federal Reserve and later at Deloitte with global financial firms. My path was very different. I'm a proud U.S. Army veteran, a recently retired U.S. diplomat and federal law enforcement officer, and now a best-selling and award-winning children's book author and a small business owner. I am not a financial expert, but everything I have accomplished, including building financial security and transitioning smoothly into retirement, has been possible because of the financial foundation our mother gave us. So to those who feel finance is not your strength, 3 of my mother's guiding principles served me well. Understand the basics, live below your means, and save consistently. And lastly, seek guidance, ask questions, and consult experts. Mentoring women is a passion for both Irina and me, especially in the area of financial literacy. It may not be the most trending topic, but it is essential. With the help of our keynote speaker this evening, we look forward to gaining new insights and encouraging all of us to break through the taboo of financial conversations and embrace them, because financial knowledge is empowering at every stage of life. For us, it feels like returning to our kitchen table, balancing receipts, and learning together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vita. The support from this endowment means that this program can continue in perpetuity, so we will be back every year to continue this conversation. In true Villanova fashion, this work is being done by a collaborative committee with representation from the Villanova Alumni Association and the Villanova Career Center and Financial Education and Wellness. The collaboration and shared expertise continues our success in meeting McCarthy's goal with this gift. I offer special thanks to the members of the committee who worked to make tonight happen, especially those working behind the scenes on logistics, including Molly McLaughlin, Dana Jacob, and Ingrid Lees. Financial wellness is a topic we consistently hear connected to leadership development and gender issues. Money is a powerful force in our culture. It can be overwhelming and scary, and we constantly have to sort through information and recommendations to know what is good or bad advice, what is a true story, and what is myth. And yet we're also taught not to talk about it in polite company or public spaces. We've all heard stories of fear and anxiety about money, but that's not why we're here tonight. We are here to be empowered. We are here to begin or continue to talk about ways that we can take the lead in our own financial wellness and have a firm foundation for our well-being and success. Our keynote speaker, Jennifer Dempsey Fox, and conversants Mikhail Jinless-White, Nyana Fulalen, and Ashley Scott will have more to say on this, so stay tuned. And 2 quick notes. At your table is a QR code which links to the resources that we may be referring to during tonight's program. It includes a glossary of terms which you might find of assistance in some of the conversations. And you also have at least one table mentor at your table who will help facilitate conversations as we move through the evening. So table mentors, raise your hand at the table. I'm sure at some point you will introduce yourselves to those who are there. But first, dinner. Once everyone has been served, we will reconvene to hear from our keynotes. Catering will come to your tables to let you know when you can go to the buffet. So thank you very much, and enjoy your meal. Okay, good evening, everyone. And I hope everyone is enjoying the food. Let's give some applause to our catering staff. This was amazing dinner. Thank you. So now that everybody's had a chance to at least go once to the buffet, it will stay open for a little while, and they will continue to bring service or clear your plates. So don't feel like you can't eat or make noise. But we do have a lot going on this evening, so I want to move forward with our agenda. So we have a keynote speaker, whom you'll hear from in a moment. Then we will follow that with a modeled conversation, our Let's Talk Money conversation that will include a couple couple of students and last year's keynote speaker. And then after that, we will break into a little bit of Q&A and time for your tables to do their conversation as well. So hopefully that'll continue some of what you've been talking about over dinner. But that's just a little preview of tonight's agenda. So let me introduce our keynote. Jennifer Dempsey Fox is the co-founder and CEO of Fox High Performance Coaching, where she coaches ambitious professionals, leaders, and teams to elevate their performance without compromise. Through private coaching, small group cohorts, and digital programs, Jennifer helps clients develop the clarity, energy, courage, productivity, and influence necessary to lead with intention and achieve sustainable, meaningful success. Her approach blends research-backed high-performance frameworks with decades of executive leadership experience. Most recently, Jennifer served as president of Bryn Mawr Trust Wealth Management, now part of WSFS. It's always a tongue twister for me, where she doubled assets and revenue while leading a multidisciplinary team through significant growth and transformation. Before that, she served as chief wealth strategist for PNC's asset management division, now PNC Private Bank, shaping the firm's strategy and overseeing a national team of wealth strategists serving high net worth clients. These and other leadership roles shared in her longer bio you can get on our website provide her with broad and deep expertise in strategic leadership, advisory excellence, and human performance across complex environments. Jennifer is especially proud to serve as an adjunct faculty at the Villanova University School of Business, where she teaches business dynamics and professional development, helping students build clarity, leadership capacity, and personal effectiveness. She considers this work a direct investment in the next generation of business leaders. Jennifer earned her Bachelor of Science in Accountancy from Villanova, and her JD from Temple University's Beasley School of Law, and her MBA from Temple University's Fox School of Business. She's also a certified financial planner and a certified high-performance coach. Additionally, she's a committed community leader. Jennifer serves as treasurer of the board of directors and as a member of the Finance and Audit Committee of the Girl Scouts of Eastern Pennsylvania. And she's also an active member of the Forum of Executive Women and Portfolia, an organization investing in women's health and innovation. Jennifer lives in Wayne with her husband, David Fox, co-founder of Fox and a fellow certified high-performance coach. David also serves as a member of the Pennsylvania Wilderness Search and Rescue Team, and they share 2 rescue dogs, a daughter currently attending Villanova Law, and a son and future daughter-in-law who live in Connecticut. Let's welcome Jennifer.
So I want to start with a paradox. When we look at women in the workforce, on average, women earn 84 cents for every dollar a man earns. Women hold 2/3 of all student loan debt. Think about that. And 80%, there's an 80% probability that women will retire impoverished. So think about that. Those are big systemic issues, right? We should be talking about these all the time. We should be really having that conversation. But you know what? We would rather talk about politics, religion, even our sex lives, and yes, I said that at Villanova, then we would rather talk about money. And if you think about it, those 3 topics are the ones that etiquette experts say never to bring up in polite company. So when we start to think about that, it kind of tracks a little bit when you start to see that 2 out of 3 women say money is their primary source of stress. All right, so look around the room. 2 out of 3 women in this room see money as the primary source of stress. Not health, not relationships, money. And here's what I've learned, is that I think we're starting the conversation in the wrong place. Because here's the other thing. We are actually earning more. We are saving more. We are building wealth. And in the next decade, women will control $30 trillion of wealth. And that's trillion with a T, okay? That's a big number. It's the largest wealth transfer in history. But we're not talking about it. So when we start to think about money and where we're starting the conversation, why aren't we talking about what it means to us? Because I really think that that is where we should start, not necessarily with all the technical language, okay? We start with things like basis points, rate of return. We make it super complicated. There we go. Okay? So there's a lot of research around this. And some of the research will tell you that if money doesn't make you happy, you're probably not spending it right. All right? Who's happy? But when you dig into the research a little bit more, right is defined by what matters to you, what you value, what's important. And so this is what I want to spend our time talking about tonight. So I want to start by telling you a story. And I think this story is important because it could be any one of us. I had a woman walk into my office, mid-60s. She had just retired. But when I saw her coming into my office, she didn't have a smile on her face. Her shoulders were down. She was sad. She looked stressed. I was worried maybe someone died. And so she came and sat in the chair across from me, and I said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And she said, "Jen, you know, I'm retired, and everybody keeps saying, 'How's retirement going?'" And she said, "And I don't know how to answer that question. Because seriously, Jen, how much golf and pickleball can you play?" She said, "I thought I did everything right. I saved, I invested. Why do I feel so lost?" And that was a big realization because she had spent 30 plus years building for this moment. But what she realized after 35 years, the phone wasn't ringing anymore. She valued her career tremendously. She knew that when the phone rang, people were looking to her for advice. They wanted to understand how she could help them. She'd walk into her building knowing that her people were there that she could help and mentor and guide. And now, the phone doesn't ring. And what she realized is that she planned for her money. She didn't plan for what mattered. And that is so important when you're thinking about what will money do for you. And so as I think of that story, I think of this article that came out last month. The Wall Street Journal created this article that said, "The retirement crisis no one warned you about." Mattering. Mattering. I looked at that and I said, mattering? But think of that conversation, right? All of a sudden, there was this gap in her life. And mattering is so important. It's about what gives your life meaning. And so as we start to think about mattering, how are we crafting our lives? Are we crafting full lives with relationships and activities and interests that fuel us? Are we too busy focused on saving for everything? So, what I want to talk about a little bit is that as we start to think about what are we missing, right? So we're talking about mattering. What aren't we talking about? And what I want to share with you is this, is that we often look at money, it's the goal, right? That's what we want. We want money. We got to have it as our goal. That's our primary thing. You ask a lot of people and they say, what do you need to do? I need to save more. I need to earn more. We're talking about money. But it's not really the goal. Money is a tool. Money is a tool that helps us build things. And the question we need to ask is, what are we building? Because if we don't know what we're building, we just keep getting more and more tools. We fill that toolbox until we somehow figure out what we're building. And I would say that that's something we should be figuring out now. What gives our life purpose and meaning? So whether you're starting your career, as I see a lot of students in the room, whether you're at the midpoint, or if you're close to that transition, it's not too late. Now is the time to start thinking about what matters to you and how you can use money as the tool to fuel what matters to you. So what I'm going to do today is give you a framework for figuring that out. What matters to you? And we're going to start with 3 questions. Okay? What gives your life meaning? Is your money supporting that? And what will you choose differently? Differently twice. Okay? So let's start with the first question. What gives your life meaning? When your life feels full and true, when you feel like you're living so vibrantly, when you feel that you are having the best day, what's happening in that moment? So I'll tell you what mine are, because I spend a lot of time thinking about what is it that is happening when I feel amazing. And I've realized it's 3 things. I feel creative. I'm creating things that are important and that matter. I feel connected. I feel connected to my family, my community, myself. And love and joy. I call that 1. Because for me, love and joy are kind of the same. It's that lightness that I have. It's that knowing that I am living a life that's aligned with what matters to me. So I want to do something with all of you. You're going to need to trust me. I'm not going to make faces. Close your eyes for a minute. And when your eyes are closed, I want you to think about your own moment. That moment when you have felt amazing, when you feel that you are living your best self, that you feel like you're living your values. What's present there? What's happening? Are you feeling peaceful? Are you feeling belonging? Are you feeling adventure? Are you grounded? Are you purposeful? Are you playful? Now I want you to open your eyes. So in front of you, you have a card that probably has the QR code here. Flip it over. Write down those words you just came up with. Hold on to them. Write them down. Because those words, they're your values. And here's what's important. When you know what your values are, you can align your money with your values. So I see people scribbling. That's fantastic. Love it. So let's talk about the second question. Is your money supporting the values that you just wrote down? Is it helping you, or is it working against you? So I want to share another story. And this story is something where someone was disconnected. And sometimes when we get disconnected with our values, it doesn't kind of creep up on us. It can be quiet. It's not a crisis. Or in this case, it could be a Tuesday. Okay? I was recently talking with a woman named Kate. We'll call her Kate. And so she had told me that her word that she held true was connected. And I believed her because you could see that everything that she talked about, when she talked about what she loved, her family, her community, her people, that was really important to her. And then she told me about her Tuesday. And on her Tuesday, she woke up. She was already tired. She had to run and get the kids to school and get to work. And she was back to back to back to back in meetings and texts and calls. It was so frantic that on the way home, she had to run and pick up dinner. We've all had those days, right? But what she realized is that she was surrounded by people. She was needed by people. But she had not had a meaningful conversation with anyone she loved. She hadn't had a conversation with her kids. She hadn't had a conversation with friends. She hadn't even had a conversation with her partner. And what she realized was that her money wasn't helping her create that space to live her value of being connected. What she realized is that she had a home that required a lot of attention. She had a life that kept her running. And decisions that she had made years ago were no longer serving her. And the reason why I share that story is because she found that she was trapped by everything she thought that she needed to have. So I'm going to tell you a different story about someone who's more aligned with their money. And this is Lauren. So Lauren, when we chatted, she was in her late 20s, and her word was adventure. And she said it just like that, adventure. She wanted to travel the world. She wanted to see new things, have new experiences. And so she started doing the work of, is my money aligned with my values? And so she realized she needed to make some changes. And she decided that, you know what? When my lease comes up, I don't need the bigger apartment that I thought I did. I'm going to get a smaller apartment. She did things like cooking more instead of ordering out. She did an audit on her subscriptions, right? How many subscriptions do we all have? So she did an audit on her subscriptions and realized, you know what? She was spending money on things that really weren't filling her up. So she made a choice. And she took the money that she was choosing on things that weren't fulfilling her values, and she chose to fill her travel bucket. The bucket that would give her her sense of adventure. And so then she was able to spend that week in Costa Rica. She was able to spend long weekends traveling to national parks. And because she knew what was meaningful to her, she was able to book a last-minute trip to Portugal. Pretty awesome, right? But what she realized with that is that she knew what her values were and was making intentional choices about what fueled her. And she said something to me that I thought was unbelievable. She said, you know what, Jen, for the first time, my money feels like it's mine. I'm saving for what I want to save for, not what people are telling me to. Not what my parents were telling me, even though that was probably good advice. But not what Instagram was telling me. It feels like mine. And I thought that was such an amazing statement, because if you think about it, if you don't know what your values are and where you're going to intentionally spend your money, there are plenty of companies and influencers who will give you a list of things to buy, right? So that's how we start to think about, is my money fueling my goals or fueling my values, or is it working against it? So when I think of adventure, she had the same income, she just made different choices for her money. And that intention was so empowering. So now, third question. What would you choose differently? So when you think of your money, I want you to do something tonight before you go to bed. I want you to think of one financial decision that you've made this week. Only one. And then look at the words that you wrote down and ask yourself, did that decision help me or go against me? And if the answer is, no, that was a good decision, yay, keep doing more of that. Reinforce that for yourself. And if the answer is, okay, it was an experiment, right? So now you know what you want to adjust. So do that tonight. But the next thing I want you to do is schedule a time once a month. Put it in your calendar. Whether it's the first day of the month, the first Tuesday of the month, whatever day works for you. But once a month, schedule time for yourself to ask these three questions. Because these three questions, all of them, help keep you in alignment with your goals. They help you test, does it still make sense for you? This is experimenting of finding out, you know what, I thought that that was my value, but it's really this. Or I thought that spending or saving here would actually help my goals. It's not. Experiment. Make mistakes. Figure it out. But if you do this every month, imagine yourself 3 months from now. You've had this conversation with yourself 3 times. And what you're going to find is that you start thinking differently because you're in tune to what matters. You start spending differently because your awareness is higher. And when you start to think of that as a habit, see how it changes any stress you may have around money. It's not that you're making more. It's just that it feels like more because it's aligned with what you want and what serves you. So, as I think about this, the one thing I'd ask you to do, this is the exercise. 3 questions, once a month. If you feel like you need to, do it more, right? Once a month is just to make it easy. But what I would ask you to do is take this conversation with you. Have the conversation. Talk about it. Talk about what gives your life meaning, how money is supporting you. Start your money conversation with that first question. So I'm going to tell you something that you'll probably hear from McCall shortly. She shared it with me, and I love it. It's awesome. She said, you know what? Ask a question in your group chat. Put a message in your group chat of your friends about money. Ask a provocative question. See what happens. Some of it can be around meaning. What choice did you make? Hey, I made an intentional choice and it felt really good. Or you can start to get more specific about the things we talked about at the beginning of, wow, did you see what happened in the stock market this month? Right? Start the conversation. Have the conversation on a walk. Have the conversation at dinner. And if you have a partner, make sure you're having this conversation together, please. All right? That way you can be aligned on your values, not just what you're spending or saving for. But the more we have that conversation, the more meaning and comfort that we get, the more confidence that we get about having the money conversation. Remember that 30 trillion I talked to you about earlier? Think about when you're confident talking about money, that clarity, that power, that understanding of what we could do, all of us do, with $30 trillion to really make meaningful changes that are aligned with our values. That's unbelievable. The other thing that I want to remind you, the retirement story that I told you earlier, 35 years with that aha realization, you're not her. You're not her. You're not her. No one is her anymore because you just took a big step. You spent the time to understand what your values are, what matters most to you, and now you're committed to act on it. So, my ask of you is to start building on purpose. Thank you.
Much, Jennifer. A round of applause. So many provocative things for us to be thinking of and to talk about tonight. And I love this idea of values driving our financial decision, being the thing that we think about, but also knowing that we have power to do so. So let's model our conversation, right? We've talked so many times today about how challenging it is for us to talk about this. And Jennifer has put out that challenge for us to do that with our colleagues and with each other tonight. So we'll introduce our Let's Talk Money conversation featuring McCall Ginless-White, Nyana Fuellen, and Ashley Scott. The keynote conversation models breaking down some of those barriers that we've been talking about, and you will be having these conversations yourselves as well at the table. So McCall is a 96 grad of Villanova and founder and CEO of Wealthmore, a wealth tech focused on closing the wealth gap by making expert advisors accessible and affordable to all. With over 20 years of financial services experiences, McCall has held senior executive positions at JP Morgan Chase, American Express, Nestle, and Accenture. After more than 2 successful decades in financial services, most recently as managing director at JP Morgan Chase, she left to launch Wealthmore. In this role and others, McCall serves as an advocate of financial inclusion, literacy, and empowerment. She has built and launched products designed to make our financial system work better for everyone. McCall is a staunch supporter of female and diverse founders. And as I said, some of you may know she served as last year's keynote. So we know that this is one of her areas of interest. She is a passionate advocate of making more capital available to diverse founders. McCall is also an advocate of our public education system and serves on the board of Catalyst for Educational Change. McCall holds an MBA from Columbia University Graduate School of Business and an undergraduate degree from Villanova University. She lives in Swarthmore with her husband and 3 sons, and when not busy building her company, she can be found enjoying Kiowa Island, South Carolina, with her family and friends. We are thrilled to have the conversation be a featured collaboration on All the Wealthmore Wealth Building Channel podcast. So you can find more about that link on our resources page and maybe go and follow it and get a little more knowledge that way as well. Welcome, McCall. Nyana Fluellen is a senior psychology major at Villanova University with minors in Japanese language and culture and Asian studies. She is actively involved in campus leadership through the Office of Belonging and Inclusion, Nova Step Nation, the Edward Collymore Honor Society, and the exquisite Tau Chi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, where she focuses on fostering inclusive community and student engagement. Nyana serves as a Lorenzini Leadership Ambassador at the McNulty Institute and is passionate about advocacy, identity, and equity-focused work. She plans to pursue a career supporting diversity, leadership development, and community empowerment with a long-term goal of working in organizational development and inclusion strategy while continuing to serve underrepresented communities. And last but certainly not least is our conversant, Ashley Scott. Ashley serves as a special events coordinator and constituent services specialist for State Senator Carolyn T. Comita, where she supports constituents navigating government services, addresses state policies affecting Pennsylvanians, and helps coordinate events for the 19th Senatorial District. She is pursuing a Master's of Public Administration at Villanova, where she is a tuition scholar in the Department of Public Administration. In that role, she is examining the need for a revitalized state grant and contract process in the nonprofit sector. Ashley also serves as a Lorenzini Leadership Ambassador for the Ann Welsh McNulty Institute for Women's Leadership. And I lost my page. A member of the department's Unitas Committee. Ashley earned her bachelor's from Westchester University in 2024, and as an undergraduate, she was actively involved in the political science department and the honors college and served as a board member of Pi Sigma Alpha. So welcome our 3 conversants up to model the conversation.
Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm so excited to be back and to have Ashley and Nyana with me to have this chat. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like money has gotten kind of loud. It feels like it's moving super fast. And I don't know about you guys, I watch CNBC all day, but it also feels kind of confusing. And I actually know a few things about it. So I can imagine you guys might be feeling a bit overwhelmed. And we have social media telling young people that you should be rich already. You feeling rich yet? I didn't think so.
No.
And then I'm afraid of the comment section, because don't bring up the topic of boomers and how they made money. I mean, it gets pretty interesting. And then, just in case you didn't have enough, you have AI telling you that, the robots are going to take all your jobs and this Villanova degree is a waste of time. So there's a lot going on. And so we just wanted to chat about it and just kind of unpack it. We probably won't have all the answers, we won't, but we at least want to ground the conversation in sort of the reality of what's going on out there. So I thought I'd start by asking you ladies, before all this, what did you think about money?
Yeah, I can start. So I was very privileged to have parents that instilled in me the knowledge and the practice of saving money. And I talked about this on our virtual chat, but when I was growing up, I would, maybe get a birthday check or a $20 here, things like that. And my dad would like steal it from me. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are you doing with this? He was like, oh, you know, I'll explain one day, right? And in my early teenage years, I finally was like old enough to understand a little bit the value of the dollar. And I said, you know, it'd be really nice if I had that $50 from grandpa to get a new shirt or whatever I wanted to spend it on. But he then explained to me the stock market. So I really fortunately have this somewhat grounded basis of the importance of investing. And I feel really lucky to have that because, as you were saying, we are living in a world of misinformation and disinformation. So having a basis from people that I trust and I know that have the best interest in me has really helped in this time of uncertainty.
I sort of had like a different experience. And I'm also a bit younger as well. But growing up, I come from a single mother, low income background. And oftentimes, at least when I was younger, I really wasn't educated on specific topics about how to save your money and how to spend it as well. It wasn't until I was a teenager that my mom really emphasized, like, you know, make sure you're putting your money into your savings every time I like had money for my birthday, or like if my uncle were to give me like $5, my mom was like, make sure you keep it in your savings, don't just spend it. You want to save up for something that is meaningful. And I feel like that was also brought up into the conversation that Jennifer had as well. I also grew up with a lot of people in my community starting businesses as well. My mom owns a healthcare business, so she is one of like the main people I look up to, and she also wanted to teach me how to save and spend wisely. And when it comes to, especially when it comes to like filing for your taxes, my mom is the main person to go to whenever a person needs help for that. So she definitely, as I got older, wanted to emphasize those things and to make sure, like, when I come to college, you know, there are a lot of things happening in front of you that you're going to spend money on, but she emphasized making sure that I've always had money in my pocket to spend it. So, yeah, that's my experience.
I have to give shout outs to the parents here who did the work. I mean, you guys, your parents did an amazing job. They are sort of like the anomalies versus the statistics around like parents not having those conversations. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine when you guys are now like flooded with social media, how does that play? Do you feel like you have your spidey senses on and you can sort of be like Superwoman and fight it off, or what happens now?
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to step away from just taking my dad's advice, which I'm sure we've all had those moments of, Dad, I don't want to listen to you anymore. And as much as I appreciated his knowledge and his influence, I wanted to do it on my own. And I wanted to be that independent woman that I see on the news and read about. I wanted to embody it. So I was like, I'm going to, you know, not stop having those conversations, but maybe pull away a little bit. So I ventured to the world of the internet, and I was like, what is going on? You know, I was hearing everything. And I think what I did is what I learned from college and from graduate school of finding reliable sources, making sure they're accredited sources, right? So that was definitely something that grounds me. I might see a TikTok that says, do this with your money, and I might say, oh, that sounds cool, but I'm not going to take that and run. That's awesome. I think that's been something that has been important, and I think the other aspect of that is that social media can be such a strength. I think it's made the conversation around money more open, and there are creators, like I'll give a shout out to Rachel Wiseman, if any of you follow her. She does a segment called Beauty Math, and she talks about the value of your product, not just based on, okay, it's $30 for this blush, but how many milliliters are in that blush? Let's break it down. And I found that to be such a, like, easy and accessible way to talk about money. And it also, I love beauty products, so it's fun. So yeah, I think there's just that balance
Beauty and
of
money.
finding things that are interesting and reliable, but also not falling down the many
Yeah.
rabbit holes that exist.
And to Ashley's point, I mean, one of the ways in which you can sort of verify that the person is a good person or, that they're qualified. Normally, folks who are like Jen, certified financial planners, when they post content at the bottom, it normally says, for educational purposes, you have to speak to an advisor, this is not financial advice. That's because they're licensed and they can't be out there just saying anything. So if you don't see that little paragraph, warning.
Yeah, I also agree with that as well. And like to your point, because you sort of spoke on it, I feel like social media often gives like these false narratives that money and success is like a singular path, but it is definitely a trial and error. I mean, speaking as a perspective as a student, I see like a lot of my peers, they go to a lot of places. Like one of my friends, she ended up in Turks and Caicos. And I'm like, what? How did you get there? Like, I wish I could plan for a trip in Turks and Caicos, but like, you don't really see the behind the scenes. And when it comes to actually saving up your money, how many months and years people put into it and effort. I think like social media often, we make assumptions of like, wow, people have everything together, but in reality, it took them a while to actually have like those savings and invest. So I think you made like a really good point about that.
Awesome. So I want to get into sort of this generation versus like previous generations, right? Previous generations, I'll call it the sort of baby boomer economics. The message was, get a good education, check. You guys went to Villanova. Get a good job, check, that'll happen. Buy a home, save, invest, and, all will be well. But housing is not as affordable. Student loans didn't get forgiven. And, women are out earning, you're living longer, but you're also staying single longer by choice. And these sort of old rules may not necessarily apply. How do you guys feel about those?
I certainly do not believe they apply on many aspects. I believe in the value of education 1,000%. I think that is like a golden rule of life. I'm so privileged to be getting my master's. It's been a lifelong goal to have more than just an undergraduate degree, so I'm glad to be 24 and having that done in May. So, that's an exciting thing for me, and I do believe that education the value might not be in the dollar, I might not make more directly, but the value that it gives me as a human that as a global citizen, it far succeeds? Outseeds? Whatever that word is. You know what I was saying. Anyway, but I think where the difference lies is really in the home ownership and having kids, and you're going to get married when you're in your early 20s. Like, I'm 24 and single and happy as can be. Kids. But people are like 24. I could have a kid right now, right? So it's a crazy concept. And with that, I could, 24-year-olds are able to buy a house. I could buy a house. I don't want to buy a house. I don't know where I'm going to live next year. And I love having that freedom. And I think I'm so lucky to have the privilege to say that and to live in a generation where I don't have to get married to then get an apartment and have a credit card and all of these things. So I think things are changing, but I think it can be challenging to have these conversations with people who did choose to live that more traditional life, and they might have had that success. They saw the power of home ownership. They built generational wealth through home ownership. That's just not guaranteed for us. So I think bridging that gap has certainly been a challenge that I think will continue.
I don't even know where to start, because I mean, I'm 21, which is of age, but not necessarily of age. So the whole question of like, okay, after you graduate, so are you going to get a house? Like, that's a little like scary for me. Are you getting married? Married? I don't know about that. I feel like, especially when it comes to the topics of getting a house and like all those other things that include money, there's this type of fear, especially being around my peers of like what's next. I feel like I said before, not everything is a linear path, but we wish it could be, because we have certain expectations for how we want our lives to be when it comes to success and money. And I feel like just talking to a lot of my mentors and engaging with them, and me like telling them like I'm like literally scared. I don't know what I'm gonna do in like the next couple of years. A lot of them had at least reassured me that everything is going to be okay as long as I ask the right questions. And it sort of goes back to the point of making sure that you educate yourself on financial wellness, which is why I believe why everyone is here right now, to educate themselves. So that is very much like the first step into making sure that you are setting yourself up for the future. But then the future is also something that is a big question mark. Doesn't always have to be planned out how you want it to be. It's how you adapt to it. So that's, I guess that answers your question.
I love the adaptability, because you guys didn't say that it needed to be the old way, but you were objectively looking at things and saying, okay, well, we'll have to sort of, define our own course, right? Mm-hmm. Define it for ourselves. And that may look very different. It may look like a different investment strategy, a different way of building wealth, and to Jen's point, a different definition of what fulfillment looks like. Yeah. So as you guys think about sort of what the new path will be, are there certain things that stand out for you guys? Kind of like the new playbook? New playbook.
I think it's really investing in my current strategy, I'll say. Okay. I have an emergency fund, right, which gives me a lot of feeling of stability, right? I feel as though, if I lost my job, if something went awry, at least I have that. And I think I need to have a sense of stability. That's just who I am as a person, so having that. But beyond that, I kind of like the unknown. Mm-hmm. I like having the freedom to move within a year or to try something new. And, to the keynote's point, I wrote down new experiences as my why. So I think that is going to be definitely intrinsically tied into my looking ahead. I don't know exactly what it means, but come back to me in a year, and maybe I'll have a better idea.
You don't have to have all the answers. That's A-okay.
I sort of think for me, it's more so, also Jennifer mentioned this as well, like being more intentional, especially when it comes to money and success. I feel like that's an important factor that plays into, I guess, my time, well, the rest of my time at undergrad since I'm a senior. And also like the ability to say no to things. Yeah. I'm not as, I feel like you have everything figured out with your savings and everything, but with me, it's kind of like I'm still learning how to function when saying no, like, okay, maybe I won't go out for dinner this weekend because I know I have to save up for something else. So for me, it's like making sure you set boundaries. I feel like that's very important. I feel like when we think of boundaries, we often think of relationships, but what about finances? What about saying no to things that will actually help us in the future when it comes to being financially ready? So I feel like just establishing those boundaries and learning how to say no is something that I very much had to teach myself during undergrad, because in freshman year, wow, I used to spend so much money in a week. But, as a senior, and I'm still not good at it, guys, I only have like $500 in my account. But as a senior, I've had learned to start saying no to things and to making sure that, I'm actually saving up for stuff that I do want to do in the future, and I feel like that's important.
I love that. And And then we probably have just a few minutes left. So I will sort of bring this a little full circle. There's a lot of noise out there. How are you guys finding your financial sort of center? And how do you feel about being at peace with that, irrespective of all the noise?
So I got a financial advisor 2 months ago, and that has brought me peace because I felt like I was drowning a bit. I didn't really know what to do. I had direction left and right from social media. My dad was chirping in my ear saying, Lord knows what. And I was like, what do I do?
And I did not pay her to say that.
But yeah, I was finally like, you know what? I'm going to hire someone. I don't know what I'm doing. And it has given, more than anything else, it has just given me solace. I'm like able to sleep at night. I'm like, thank you, Greg, it's his name. I appreciate him so much and all the work. I don't know what he does, but he's doing it. He is certified. Like, I know that, okay. But I have really just found peace and stability in outsourcing. So that's kind of my version of saying no. Here you go.
I guess for me, it's sort of like asking questions. I feel like as people, when we grow up in the world, it's kind of like we feel like asking questions is a bad thing, but there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. And I definitely feel like in the future, when it comes to money and spending, I'm starting to ask a lot more questions about like, okay, so how do I save up? Like, just a basic question. And I feel like just engaging with people, asking questions, that's something that I've been doing recently in my life. And also, I guess, finding meaning in it as well. We sort of had this conversation at the table about just finding meaning in the work that you do. And I also had this conversation in class, too, in regards to AI and, like, the fear with AI and everything. And one thing my professor did bring up is that oftentimes we feel like, particularly with AI, that it's going to replace the meaning that we do. And that's one of the things that we fear. And for me, it's kind of like, in this current life that I'm living in, is how am I going to use my money and my success in order to create meaning for me? Because oftentimes we think of money as something that is physical, but I feel like at the same time, it's a part of us as well. So how can we take the money that we're using and nourish it to ourselves? So like that's one of the things that I want to think about moving forward, especially almost graduating college. And yeah.
I mean, these ladies are way wiser beyond their years. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I think we will open it up for Q&A.
You have 2 financial advisors and 2 Gen Z reps here. So.
I see your brave soul right there.
Tynesia, yes, if you could come to the microphone, that would be great.
You know, it was funny because I knew I wanted to ask a question. I was looking like, how am I going to do this when I get up here?
It's good. We can hear you if you just tilt it up a little. There you go.
That's how I thought it worked. Good evening. My name is Tynesia Wilson. Thank you all so much for your remarks, for your knowledge, for your expertise and insights. My question is for you. So I served as the 103rd Miss Philadelphia back in 2024, and actually one of the questions that I was asked was around financial wellness, because that is what my platform was. And so there was a point that you made, and I want to ask the question, in terms of the wealth gap, what accountability do you feel like we as women should be holding, or things that we should be doing in order to close that and to prepare for this wealth transfer that you talked about that's going to happen in the next decade?
So thank you for that question, because I think that is the question, right? Is that I think that this is part of owning our power, by owning our knowledge, owning kind of our values and what's important to us. And I think, as we heard, asking the questions, right? So I think what I have found is that the gap sometimes is between that feeling of power and the money that you have. And money sometimes, yes, gets you in the room for some of those conversations. What room do you want to be in? And how do you create those rooms to be in that makes a meaningful change in the world? So I do think it's a bigger question because personally, I see the benefits of women in leadership all the time, and we need more of it.
We have another brave question asker.
My question has to do with opening access to financial literacy for women, specifically on social media, because I know for a while last year there was the running joke of girl math and how we understand that, oh, if I spend $50 and then return $25 worth of something, I just made money. And in a way that it was more belittling. Yes, that's what it became. And it was termed that way as a joke, but it seemed to be at a joke at women's expense towards financial literacy. So how would you suggest that we reframe that and retake ownership of that path?
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that, no one's coming to save us, right? Like, we have to become financially literate. It's not hidden. It's sort of like sitting there in plain sight. I think we should just kind of normalize those conversations, drop it, in the group chat, go into the Wall Street Journal, listen to YouTube channels of accredited people. But I think the information's out there, and just be a sponge of it. I'm a firm believer that we have to be good stewards of the wealth, and you're not going to be a good steward if you're not informed. And some of the stats out there about, lost wealth, it's scary. It's normally gone within 1 to 2 generations. So it's because parents are not preparing their kids. So when that transfer of wealth happens, people are not prepared for it. So it's sort of on us to be good stewards, to get informed, to be smart about it, to understand. And the knowledge is out there, and just also build that knowledge base amongst yourselves, with each other, just talking about it, asking the silly questions, listening to the finance bros, just to be like, let me unpack what they're talking about. First of all, most of it is bravado. But the more you get comfortable listening to it, you'll be like, oh, come on, dude, you're just trying to pump and dump that stock. But you just get more comfortable and you get a little more savvy, and now you're sort of in that conversation, driving it and challenging opinions. And frankly, it's fun.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this great presentation. This is fantastic. My question almost kind of piggybacks off of what was just mentioned there. First, for the younger ones that are in the room, I hope every one of you realizes the gift of time that you have right now and money. There's nothing better than the gift of time and gathering your wealth to be able to do what you want to do in the future. So the younger you start, the better off you will be in the future. So that's just it. I've been attending this for a number of years now, and a lot of the themes every year has been, when you get a group of males together, they'll talk about money. The guys will sit around and they'll talk football, and they'll talk money, and they'll talk, which stock, oh, I made this one, that. You know how the conversation goes. Women rarely do that. We're talking about shows on Bravo, and did you see the latest Housewives episode, or some fashion, or Taylor Swift, or we just don't really talk about money. So my question is, how do you start talking about money without, like, the other woman in the room looking at you like, really? Because not many really have an interest in it, but they should have an interest in it. So how do you spark that conversation? Are there groups around that if you are interested, you can become a member of to learn? But it's just not happening in our everyday conversation like it does with a group of guys. So that's kind of my question. It's like
We're not, you're being so open and honest, and it is true. In our prep, I was, sharing with the ladies that, my husband and his golf friends, they share stock, recommendations. Some are good, some are not, but they're doing it, right? And we as women, we weren't socialized to talk about money. We weren't sort of invited into these spaces and these conversations. There are times when I'm in a group with a lot of men and they start talking about money and I'm just as informed and they sort of start shutting me out of the conversation. And there are times when I'm with a group of women and I start talking about money and they sort of look at me like, what is she talking about? So it is awkward. We're still not there, but I do believe it's a matter of just starting the conversations, even if it's awkward, and then finding those groups as well.
So one thing that I'd like to add too is that don't assume that people aren't interested. It's easier to assume that maybe there's fear or discomfort because no one wants to be the one who's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, the reality is, and McCall and I have been both in the rooms, we're hearing a lot of people talk and it's like, you're not talking about anything. You're just talking in a language that I don't understand, which is intimidating to me. One of the things, and I've, again, been in this all my career, what frustrates me more than anything is when you have financial professionals who throw around like, okay, how many basis points? What's the VIX? What is your beta? What's your alpha? It's like, come on, right? Tell me how much I made. Explain to me why you're investing it. What is that stock? And so what I've found is that starting the conversation in plain English, because that's what it really should be, is the best place to start when you're with your group of friends. Ask them the question is that, hey, are any of you worried about money? Like, what have you done? Like, what groups are you part of? Because I think we're all waiting for that invitation to open up the conversation, and it's the invitation that doesn't come unless we give it.
I will just add one quick thing. I would say there's a lot of people view Gen Z as this like negative group, and I'm not saying we're perfect. However, what I will say is that I think salary transparency has been something that my generation looks at as a positive. I could tell you my 5, 10 closest friends' salaries, my coworkers' salaries. I'm not going to tell them, but I could. And I say that to say that I think the conversation might be shifting a bit in our generation, and even, I have conversations with my friends about, do you think you're going to buy a house? Are you going to, like, these bigger conversations. I do not talk to my friends about what stocks they're investing in. That's beyond my repertoire. However, I will say that I think that it is shifting a little bit, at least in my personal experience. So maybe that can give us a little hope.
And I would also encourage you to start the conversation around something that most people should be talking about, which is their 401k. That's an easy one. Are you doing the match? What are you investing in, particularly if it's other colleagues? Because that's a little we're all in that same boat and we should be talking about it, and then that can sort of open the door to talking about stocks and retirement and how much are you putting aside, because that's one of those things that most people should be talking about, or at least aware it's out there.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story on that. We have an employee of ours who invested in her 401k through our work 401, that we offer to them. 10, 12 years she put money in, but never, it was fixed. It was in the fixed income account for the entire time.
Yeah.
So here she was, 10, 12 years she put in, and
she was just covering inflation.
But she just didn't know. She didn't have that conversation until, we started talking one day and said, where are you? And then she looked and that's where it was. But that's where there's a lot of people out there that are there because they just don't have those conversations, So
if you guys have one conversation, please do it around the 401k, because you just reminded me of a scary stat about this one. I think it was Vanguard that did a study, and the average person, they had found 50-something% of people had moved money across 401ks and had actually not actually invested it. And it was sitting there for 6 to 10 years. So please go double check.
And I also want to say, Spark-wise, I think a great thing would be to take some of the stats that you put up there and say, I went to this, not as a shameless plug, but as a shameless plug. I went to this Sketches Financial Wellness program at Villanova, and did you believe that $30 trillion are going to be in the hands of women, and that we're not investing, or that's a great conversation starter and would open doors to a lot of this. Did you know we don't talk about money? Like, did you ever think about that? So that's kind of an easy, low risk way to start the conversation. And maybe also you have a group of people at your table who want to keep that conversation going. So share your contact information. Do the 1-month follow-up that Jennifer talked about, but with each other, not just alone, right? So, I'm looking at Joyce. Joyce, you're going to text Cheryl, and you're going to say, Cheryl, did you ask yourself your question, right? And yeah, exactly. So, all right, so that said, we're out time for questions, but our speakers will still stay up here so people can feel free to come up and talk to them. I'm going to ask Tyra to come up, and thank you very much to our speakers for the moment. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Tyra Ford, Director of Professional and Personal Development here at Villanova University. Our office leads university-wide initiatives that support personal skills for life. Most importantly, we partner and help elevate the important work of departments across campus, like the work of the McNulty Institute and tonight's Getch's Financial Wellness event. So tonight, we would like to highlight some of Villanova's personal finance resources that are available to assist you in making better financial decisions. One of our great assets is our Assistant Director of Financial Wellness Education here at Villanova, and that's Liz Brunton, sitting right here. She's also one of our table money mentors, or table mentors tonight. Our team offers one-on-one coaching to undergraduate and graduate students, and this coaching is provided by certified personal finance educators. So, and I know with the great conversations we've had, you can know that the resources that you receive in Villanova are resources that can be trusted, and they are reliable. We also offer a variety of workshop topics, an online financial platform, which is available to all Villanova faculty, staff, students, and alumni. The criteria is to have a Villanova email address, and you can access that online financial platform. All information and links to register for events can be found at villanova.edu/financial wellness. And so for our young alumni, we have a special financial wellness series just for alumni. It's going to be the first 3 Wednesdays in June at noon. So this series is co-sponsored by Villanova's Alumni Relations and covers spending plans, credit and loans, and investing. And we are also partnering with our partner TIAA to provide the investing content. And so the final resource I'd like to highlight is iGrad. So that's Villanova's online platform that I mentioned. And this, the financial content is provided in multiple formats supporting all learning styles, and it's available 24 hours a day to all of our Villanovans. You can start with the financial wellness checkup to get personalized content and an action plan that addresses your distinct needs. You can select from a variety of interactive tools that are available, calculators, just to help to inform the financial decisions that you're trying to make. And so now I want to go ahead and get us set up for the table talk. So we'd like for all of you tonight to help break the taboo of talking about money. And so we invite you to use your Villanova network for these conversations and start talking at your table. So you saw the facilitators earlier, and they will identify themselves again at the table. They will help to lead the conversation. And later, when you're given the signal, we're going to come back together and ask you to share some of what you heard, some of what you've learned, and the facilitators will give you directions and ask you to commit to 1 to 2 things that you might do. So with that, it's now time to break the taboo and let's talk money.
Almost 9 o'clock with nobody getting up to leave, okay? Right? And that just shows you how much, what if we all got together for dinner and started talking about money and everybody just stayed here and chatted with each other about a topic that we're not even supposed to be talking about? What would happen? People will stay, people will talk, and people will hold each other within these groups accountable for things that you're talking about. So now I want to hear from you. What are 1 or 2 things that people said at your tables that they would do or follow up on or look for to help build their financial wellness? Who wants to volunteer? Oh, okay. Look, Vida is going to come up, and so she's even got a list. I love it. Okay.
Jennifer, first of all, thank you. I love these questions. Our whole table loved these questions. I think they are wonderful, and I'm going to incorporate this into my life because I think it does when you're going through something. It makes you think, and I love this. So that was one topic we all liked. These
Excellent.
questions.
So they're going to use the questions, and you're going to set a timer for that, right? Like maybe once a month you're going to. Or even once a week. Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else want to share something that was discussed at your table, even if it was an insight, if not something that you're going to do? Yes. Yeah. Yes. It varies significantly, and where's Cheryl? She can probably tell a little more about it as an economics person. Is it 2070 now, they say? We may, at this rate, it's... Yes, and exactly, the pay, the salary, all comes back to building wealth because it is exponentially counted over time. And so planning for that, knowing about that. You could come to the Institute. We'll have a chat. I have lots of information on pay equity stuff. That's something that we talk about all the time. So, Anyone else? Yes, Cheryl.
I don't know if I can remember everything, but we have like a little range of ages at our table, which I think is nice. Our youngest has just left. But I think we all offered some different insights into like where we are, and I think it was good because none of us is like, except maybe me, I'm the oldest, but much further along, but thinking about what we know and don't know, and it's very eye-opening and making each other realize that, none of us has all the answers. Oh, okay, that's okay, because other people don't either. And then talking about the stories and how things have changed over time, and also about, while it's good to get advice from others, we can't always just compare ourselves to others because we're at different positions in life and how important it is to thinking about what's important to you, right?
Excellent. Yeah. That comparison, as Liz said, comparison is the thief of joy, right?
I'm trying to remember the exact wording of that phrase, but we had it a little different. But yeah, that's.
But that gets back to what Jennifer said in the beginning. What has meaning for you? That's how you should be deciding what, and not looking at others, not thinking. That also goes back to what the panel was saying in their conversation about social media too, right? So much of that is othering rather than about self. And bringing that focus back on self helps with that whole concept of making money matter for you, right? Anyone else want to give some final thoughts? Kathleen. Building with purpose, right? And there are so many tools now that you can use, including the ones that Tyra shared, right? But there are so many tools that can help you know your numbers, know that information better. The first time we did this event before it was endowed as the Getchus event, we talked about how women are often passive in how they do financial wellness and support, right? They either cede control to their partners or they just let things kind of go, let it be, and not having that knowledge and not empowering themselves becomes detrimental in the long term. You may luck out, you may be fine, but you also may not, and you do have the ability to have some control there. Like Jennifer said, you got money, you got 30 trillion that you're going to do something with that we need to be thinking about. Anything else? Okay, well, there may even be some dessert left. No, I think it might all be. Oh, there is. Okay, we even still have some dessert. So feel free to talk. I would recommend, as I was saying to Joyce earlier, please do share with each other your contact information. Use the people at your table, either the table mentors that you've talked with or others. You will get a follow-up from this event. You'll get a survey from us, and there'll be a question on there if you'd like to get more information about things or hear more about it. You can check that box, and we'll stay in touch with you over different programming or things that may follow up on this. So thank you all for coming out, braving the cold, and being warm at a nice dinner table.